Viewers, our focus continues to be the latest coming in from Nepal. Nepal today witnessed a fresh wave of youth-led protests as demonstrators took to the streets for a second consecutive day, demanding accountability and anti-corruption measures. The unrest, which erupted after a controversial government decision and a social media blackout, turned violent, with protesters storming homes of political leaders. Nepal President Ram Chandra, in fact, has accepted KP Oli's resignation as the Prime Minister. He has been taken to a safer location, is what we are being told. And visuals that we are now showing to you, they have Oli leaving Kathmandu in a military helicopter. We don't know where he is right now, but what we saw on the streets of Kathmandu, viewers, was complete chaos and pandemonium, with protesters turning violent and, in fact, damaging public property as well, including government buildings. They did not even spare the parliament as well. Now we have some breaking inputs coming in. Nepal's army, in fact, has rescued former Prime Minister Dioba after he and his wife, who's a sitting finance minister, were attacked by the protesters there. And look at these dramatic visuals that we are getting for you. Army coming to the rescue of the politicians as well, of the ministers, the sitting ministers and the former ministers. And this one I'm talking about is former Prime Minister Dioba. And look at those dramatic visuals that we have for you. Rishabh is now joining us on the phone line for more on this. Rishabh, now Nepal Netas clearly, it seems, are on the protesters' hit list. Explain to us what exactly has happened with former Prime Minister Dioba and his wife sitting FM there.
Well, what we are given to understand that the Prime Minister Debo, former Prime Minister Debo, and his wife, who right now is the Foreign Affairs Minister of Nepal, their house was attacked, set on fire, and they both were beaten up and thrashed as well. Army reached nick in time to safeguard them and have taken them with them away from the protesters. And this is not just one story. We have seen army safeguarding the finance minister of the country, safeguarding the other ministers as well, to ensure that they get the ministers are not hurt much. So in a way, we have seen here that how things are unfolding in Nepal. The protesters are not leaving in Nepal. The protesters are not leaving anyone right now who are in who they are getting hands on.
I'm just interrupting you there. Requesting to please stay on with us. I am joined on the phone line by Sushant Sareen. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for speaking with us here on Times Now. I mean, if you see the visuals, this looks like literally a repeat of what we saw in Dhaka a couple of months ago. But what is your understanding of the situation there? Do these protests look like organic protests to you, or do you think there is some kind of a conspiracy behind it? Because as going by, what they were saying, the protesters, they wanted KP Oli to step down. He has tendered his resignation. But now you have more dramatic scenes emerging, unfolding there.
Look, if it was just as simple as asking for somebody's resignation, getting it, and things piping down, then yes, it would have been over. But it isn't, because, once protests like this snowball in the manner as what has happened in Nepal, it just doesn't die out after your main demand is met. Because there are all sorts of other forces which have also jumped in, and all kinds of other anger which is now being taken out on the people or the leaders who are seen as the reason for the problems which people are facing. Which is why we have seen very distressing scenes of very senior leaders, including the foreign minister and her husband, the former prime minister, being physically assaulted, the finance minister running on the streets and being chased by a mob and being assaulted. We've seen the parliament being burned down. We've seen a whole lot of other stuff happening, and it's gone out of control, in part because the protests, when they started, it was on a particular issue, but then all kinds of other interest groups also have obviously jumped in. And all kinds of other anger is also being taken out. The frustration, the anger of many years now, the sheer problems that people are facing, which the politicians and the political class refused to address because they were busy in their own musical chairs of power. That is now being taken out against these people, which is why you see the houses being burned, the parliament being burned, and probably, hopefully, one hopes, keeps one's fingers crossed that things will start calming down, maybe in a day or two. But yeah, I suspect Nepal is in for a torrid time for the foreseeable future now, because there's no clear roadmap on how to bring back stability and some semblance of governance back into the country.
Right. Mr. Sushant Sareen, I have one more question for you. Please stay on with us. Mr. RSN Singh also joining us on the broadcast. I'll come to you, sir, in just a bit. Mr. Sushant Sareen, you spoke about other forces, other interest groups. During the crisis that we saw in Dhaka earlier, we were talking about American hand, we were talking about the influence of Pakistan, etc. Here, what are you alluding to? What could be at play in your understanding? Mr. Sushant Sareen?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Yeah. So what I meant by that is, for example, there are the pro-monarchy forces. Okay. There are other political forces which want to see the back of the current leadership. There are new political forces which have germinated, which have been coming up, which have also acquired power in local areas, but which want a stake in the system. And there was this entire bunch of people who was preventing new blood from coming in, and they would have jumped in. Then, when mob rule takes over, there are all kinds of other characters, people who are just in it for looting, people who are in it simply because they're frustrated and angry over their lot and they want to take it out on somebody. Looting starts, violence starts, and everybody wants to partake in it. And that is the logic of mob violence, which is what we are seeing unfold. Now, whether there is some grand conspiracy theory, there's this concept now in India, everybody thinks they're being very profound when they talk about deep state. I don't know if there is a deep state involved. I don't know if there is a big conspiracy involved. We are seeing pictures of American diplomats having met some politicians, but that has been happening for years now. That is not something new. But to imagine that, there is some deep conspiracy which has taken place to destabilize the region, maybe there is. But I want to see more proof than just, producing a couple of pictures of diplomats meeting political leaders. That happens. Our diplomats go and meet political leaders. Does that mean that they're conspiring against the sitting government or the established order? No, it doesn't.
That's an interesting view you have presented for our viewers, Mr. Sushant Sareen. Appreciate you speaking with us here on Times Now and sharing with us your perspective. Let me now go across to Mr. RSN Singh as well. Mr. RSN Singh, we're getting dramatic visuals of the former Prime Minister of Nepal and his wife, virtually escaping death. I mean, they were saved somehow by the army. What do you say, as to what's happening in Nepal?
Firstly, don't you find some parallels with Bangladesh? There are many parallels. I mean, nobody is talking about, it's very easy to brush away things, citing, ridiculing, conspiracy theories. Well, we are here. I mean, I come as a commentator on your channel because of the deeper insights that I have. Otherwise, you would be inviting me. So, firstly, let me tell you what is. It is Kathmandu-centric. There has been problem in the west, in Pokhara also, not to that extent, and in the some eastern part also. But remember, Nepal, for most of these activists, and otherwise. Nepal is Kathmandu. Are there any protests in Tarai? No. Nobody is even talking about Tarai region. So firstly, it is Kathmandu-centric. It gets a lot of traction because Kathmandu being the capital. The second, we see the age profile. They rightly call themselves, Generation Z. People who were, born after 1996, right? Well, they're there. I don't say that, it's the Nepal government is beyond reproach here. It is far from that, Sushant was absolutely right when he said, spoke about political instability. But that is what happens when you allow too many forces, pro-Chinese forces and all kinds of forces, Communist Party UML, Communist Party Maoist, 2-3 shades of, Communist parties. And then remember, when ever since the monarchy went, Nepal has been yearning for stability. It has not found stability. And I, for one, I have written a book called, I toured extensively, the Nepal, and wrote a book, The Unmaking of Nepal. And that time I said, that the most enduring symbol of Nepalese nationalism is the monarchy. Whatever you may say. I mean, there would be no Britain, not at least in this shape, without the monarchy. Take the example of Thailand. What keeps the country together?
Yes.
Prime ministers keep changing in every 6 months. But what keeps them together is one symbol, one rallying symbol, and that is monarchy. Yes. Now they did away with that, and then there was a vacuum, and now you see. Now you say outside place, yes, it's an
So
open
are the royalists of Nepal seeking the return of king, return of monarchy? I mean, that's a very pertinent point you've made, Mr. Arisan Singh. Appreciate you joining us here on Times Now and sharing with us your perspective. And viewers, even though KP Oli has resigned as the Prime Minister, the angry protesters say his resignation is not enough. They say he must apologize as well. Listen in.
ये देश हमारा है, ये जिंजी लोग का देश है, ये नेता लोग सब भाग गया, ये नेता लोग काम चोर है, भ्रष्टाचारी है, और ये देश के लिए ये जिंजी ने 2 दिन में सब कुछ कर दिया। ये इस नेता सब ने हमारा 19 वर्ष खा दिया, और हमारा सिर, ये नेपाल का सिर है, संसार का लोग ने देखता है अब ये नेपाली क्या है।
अब स्टूडेंट को कल मार दिया गया, आप लोग देखिए 21-22, अब नंबर कितना है पता नहीं, 500 से जितना है सब इंजर्ड हुआ है। अब स्टूडेंट को ऐसे तरीके से मारेंगे तो कौन सा देश चलेगा? ये तो बहुत क्रूरल देश जैसा हो गया, क्रूरल शासन हो गया। ये तो ओली का शासन ऐसा नहीं चलता है, कोई देश में ऐसा नहीं चलता है।
और ये सरकार ये जो हुआ है ना, ये इतना कुछ ये सोशल बैंडिंग के लेके नहीं हुआ है। हम लोगों को चाहिए यूथ लीडर चाहिए। अब हम लोग परिवर्तन खोज रहे हैं। ये बूढ़े लोग है ना, ये बूढ़े लीडर है ना, वो हम लोग अब वक्त हो गया है, अब नहीं चाहिए, हमारा यूथ चाहिए अब।
The Prime Minister has resigned, but that is not enough. The youth over here, they won't be satisfied just by the resignation of Prime Minister. We need Prime Minister to be in front of the people and be sorry for all the killings that he has done yesterday.
With this, we will slip into a very, very short break. We'll be back with more. Stay with us.